Welcome to the Wrestling Philosophy Show, where we discuss coaching perspectives, beliefs, and techniques. Find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter.
In Episode 8, we talk with Coach Will Knight of Shaker Heights. He tells stories of his days at Ohio State, where he was a Big Ten placer after never qualifying for the state tournament. Coach Knight discusses getting into Greco-Roman wrestling and his memories of Logan Stever and Spencer Lee at the Doghouse in Milan.
Yes. So, all right, here we are with Coach Knight, Coach Will Knight. Where are you joining us from tonight?
I am from Cleveland, Ohio. I mean, I'm in Cleveland, Ohio right now, but I'm the head wrestling coach at Shaker Heights High School.
Right, yeah. So, how long you been there? Give us a little story how you ended up back at Shaker.
Well, I wrestled at Ohio State, and when I left, I was how it happened was going into Big Ten. I go to coach at the district tournament. I come to go watch the district tournament because I don't know if you remember the twin brothers, the Greenspans. Josh Greenspan was a state champ, and that I think. So
he wrestled for Cleveland State. Where did he wrestle at?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So he asked me to come back and coach him because there's some issue with the head coach at the moment. It's just gotten a little bit kids get all emotional late in season, so he just he gave me a call and I went back and coach helped out with the head coach and we had like a really good district. Like we got 4 kids out. Corey Sharpley won the district.
Oh yeah.
And then Corey won it. Josh lost to Kevin Burrows in the finals. His brother pulled upset over a boy from Walsh, Stata.
Okay.
And then
Victor.
he
coached me at Kent. Yeah, Victor.
Yeah, and then Fonzel Durden made it out of 215. Like got a takedown late in overtime to go to. We got 4 kids out, and then the assistant AD was there. It's like, well, what are you doing next year? And I said, well, I'm gonna be back in Cleveland. He said, well, you want to coach? And he's like, you have the job right now, And I've been stuck at Shaker ever since. I've been at Shaker ever since.
So did you know before that? Like, when did you have any thoughts of coaching, or?
Not really, because I was still training. I was still, going to opens and trying to make, Greco teams, and because I started making some strides in Greco, getting closer to getting on the ladder, and then in 98, I finally broke through and qualified for the trials, and took 7th at the U.S. Open, and then it was, so I was training and working, and so it was kind of easy being a wrestling coach while I was still, training.
Gotcha. That's cool.
Yeah.
Now, some people know this, but I guess share with us. So you came out of the Northeast, Stack Northeast District, right? Never made the state, but you go on to wrestle for Ohio State. I mean, that's something, man. That's something, right? That's every kid in Ohio's dream, right?
Yeah, I was the last. I had to try out pretty much. So
okay.
So what it was I was the last. Russ had told me, he's like, you're the last guy I'm gonna make kind of have to go through that again, because if someone wants to wrestle, they'll wrestle. Most of those people, college wrestling's too hard just to kind of be on the team.
Right.
So those people, if they're serious, they're not. If they're not serious, they're not talented enough. They normally get weeded out. People just aren't on the team just to be on the team. So, at the end of the day, I had to. I wrestled at the Ohio Open, which was like the toughest preseason tournament.
Mm-hmm.
And then just pretty much I was going to be judged on that. And I actually was like 2 matches away from placing. I don't know how the heck I just got on this run. And only 2 other freshmen did better than me. Like I lost to Jay Michael in a match, and we went like 4-2, while Jim Jordan was coaching him and Dave Range was coaching me. And then I was like, I had him on the ropes, and then I lost. And then me and Charlie Beck got eliminated the same round, I think. And then and I think we all wound up getting eliminated around the same round. Maybe Charlie Beck's was one other round further. And I lost to Pat Birdies from Mentor, Ohio / Miami, Ohio, when he was in college.
Wow.
That was my final match, and actually wrestled pretty well against him too, which is kind of crazy.
So now as a coach, looking back, never made the state tournament. What do you say to if what would you say to yourself back in those shoes? But sitting at the district tournament, not making the state tournament, now as a coach, what would you say to yourself back then if you had the chance?
Now I see the extra training and how serious people are. Like, I wanted to do all the work. I just didn't have access to the right situations. I mean, we would go up to Solon open mats on Wednesdays.
Oh yeah, those are some big ones.
We would have these great groups, but those guys were so far ahead of me just on their experience. I mean, we would have these groups. Like, there was one time, like senior year, there was this group where it was Dan Carcelli, Steve St. John, Kevin Vaughn from Ignatius. Oh yeah. Myself, Pete Nathanson, like Lenny Shork. Like, we had these groups that were just crazy, and it just overnight. Like, all right, let's just go. And
let's go. Every Wednesday, right? And then get back in the next Wednesday.
Every Wednesday, it was just like you had to be there. And I would do well with those situations, but it just, I don't know what happened in matches in high school. It just wasn't my time, the way I look at it.
Yeah, the Solon open mats. Right when I got into coaching, that's towards the end of Coach DiGiovanni's era there. Actually, is Corey Sharpley still coaching there? Is he? I know he was coaching up there.
His kids are there. Okay. I don't know. I think he's helping out with the middle school.
Okay.
But if Master, if I told myself anything else, I would have. I might have. I really wish I learned more about the weight room. I wish I didn't cut as much weight as I did. Like, I kind of had. I was so little up until my junior year in high school. I finally got taller.
Okay.
So I always thought I was going to be like a lightweight. So I was always kind of in this cutting weight mode and
instead of the weight room mode.
And that, right. Yeah, and I probably should have learned a little bit about, just got a little bit more. I mean, I wanted to work, but I just didn't do it. I was always thinking about, all right, well, I wrestled 19. I'm going to try and go 19 again next year, as opposed to just being like, why don't you lift and just be a 130 pound? Like, I was getting close to 6 foot. I was trying to cut to 19.
Right. You start growing. It cutting weight and growing they don't mix. So
yeah. I was a weight cutter. I've been a weight cutter for a long time.
Yeah. So obviously I'm from Sandusky, and you had some awesome experience, I'm sure, with Kevin Random in there. Do you have any stories for us of the monster?
Well,
if you had one to share, I've heard stories. So me growing up, that's right when I started getting to wrestling, was watching those Ohio State. I didn't get to watch him wrestle, at the state tournament. I wasn't there, but I remember seeing those Ohio State highlight, VHS tapes. Right?
Right.
Oh, it's up. Every kid wanted a copy of that, right? But so, I hear stories, Kevin, but go ahead. I'm just.
Yeah, I'll give you. I mean, one day I'll give you the most. Like, okay, he did so many things athletically that were just so amazing, but he was just the hardest worker I knew too, though. Like, he just so everyone just always says, oh, he was just a great athlete. And I'm just like, we've seen, and you've seen, plenty of great athletes that haven't come close to do what he does, or what someone like Jordan Burroughs does, or someone like Spencer Lee does. Like, we've seen great athletes, right?
Right.
So that used to always be like, no, you guys don't get it. Just being like, that's like, so one time we're at, I don't know if I told this story to Zeb or not, but I remember there's 2 times, like, there's 3 super athletic moves that I saw him do. One was that we were at the national duels, and we're wrestling Iowa at the time. Okay. And then so he's wrestling Bart Chelsvig, and Bart Chelsvig hits him, and it's on a highlight video. So I wish I could find and get this to you, but Bart Chelsvig hit. I will, dude. I'm telling you, bro. He hit Bart Chelsvig hit him with an ankle pick, like a knee tap, bam, hit. But he had Randleman on his butt, like sitting on his butt, and then Randleman popped the elbow, hit a duck under. Mind you, he's sitting on his butt, and then grabbed Chelsvig did a squat off his butt and had Chelsvik in the air and put him to his back. And I said, I mean, it's impossible. When I try and explain the move, right, I always try and explain it on like a 6-year-old because I can't do it with like a kid who weighs 50 pounds. He did this on a guy who probably weighed 190 at the time because it was the weight class 77, but everyone was cutting much weight. Everyone weighed 190 the next day, you know, what is 90, 95, Random might have weighed 200 at some point the next day. And I was just like, that is the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my life. And you could tell, and then at the Big Tens, it happened again. But he just did it to get out of defense. And you saw Gable look over, and then he was like, I know Dan Gable had a lot of respect for Kevin Randleman because they trained and they fought and they went after him, and he could not answer the Randleman code.
Yeah.
And I know he had respect for him. I know he just would be like, man, this dude is just freaking tough. But
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna find that. I'm gonna find it.
Yes. Yeah. I'd love to, man, he's something, if you describe that and you ask who can do it, he'd be the one, right? I mean, he's superhuman, man. Superhuman. I know, come from the same town, wrestled with all the Sandusky guys growing up. Obviously, he was a little bit before me, but they had some deep tradition with Coach Kyle Julio, all those guys, back in the day at Sandusky, and but it's awesome. He he was something else. Any other stories from Ohio State?
Okay. Well, now I must tell you, this is the most athletic thing I've seen him do.
Okay. Go ahead.
But it was, we were coming out of a bar. We were coming out of the bars, at night, and then there was Kevin. Like we go around the block, and Ohio State. I mean, this story I don't know. Okay, I'm gonna tell it. Okay, so we're at we're leaving out of the bars, and we go around the block, and then there was like this gymnast who lived on the side that he used to say hello to every once in a while. And then some reason they got into but right there, the cops always had a paddy wagon right on the side of like Chittenden 12th, or, whatever the street was, 11th, Chittenden, whatever. And then these cops see him, and then they're like, they're going to be like, hey, come here. And they try and grab him, they want to grab his wrist, and he's like, y'all know that don't hurt. And I was like, we just hear him say, he's like, that don't hurt. And they try to wrench his arm a little bit. He's like, that don't hurt. We're sitting there like, damn, come on, Kev. And then they get him cuffed. And if you know paddy wagons, they have I haven't gotten arrested, but they have it's like metal benches in there, right? Mm-hmm. It was just all these metal. It was like just metal in this back thing lit up. So there was this metal bench at the end, and you could tell these, the cops got a little pissed. So they tried to grab him by his back and the back of his neck, and they tried to throw him in for his head to hit the metal bench. But the most athletic thing I've ever seen in my life was, I don't know how he planted his foot, turned and spun, landed with his hands cuffed behind his back, and just looked at the cops, had this look on his cops, and they were like, I was like, oh my God, that's the most athletic thing I've seen in my life. And then they sprayed him with mace and they took him away. But it's crazy. The next day he showed up at me and Eric Smith's house, like, what's up, y'all? We're like, what? Wait, what, dude? Like, we were trying to see, like, he knew somehow he was out there. I don't know what it was. But I just remember the next day we were trying to figure out, we woke up like, how are we going to get Randleman out of this? And then he just shows up at a place like, what's up, y'all? We're like,
He was everybody's friend too, right? I mean, he was, you talked to him, right? I mean, he genuine. He was talking to you, right? I met him a couple times, but I met him as a junior. For some random reason, I was sitting in his chair at the state tournament the year he was a senior in high school. I was a sophomore. And then I just remember seeing this dude roll up on me. Like, he's like, and I was like, and I knew it. He was like, I was like, this your seat? He's like, no, you cool. And I just remember being like, what I thought who he was, like, it was just like, just go on, let's just see, go ahead. And then, but then the next time I officially met him, I was
trying out for the wrestling team, and I go into this poli-sci class, like 200. And I should have been taking poli-sci 200 as an incoming freshman, but I don't know who I thought I was gonna.
Right.
I don't know what I was doing. Taking AP Government and Shaker, I got arrogant, like, oh, I got this.
Yeah.
But Random was in that class, and he's a junior. So I'm like, he shows up late, and then I remember being like, oh, okay. And then so afterward, I go up and talk to him. I said, hey, Kevin, hey, I know. He said, you Kevin Randleman, man. He's like, I said, yeah. I said, man, I saw you on the national championship with Mark Reeland caught him and pinned him in the national finals as a freshman. And I said, man, I don't know. After I saw it, I kind of wanted to come down and see it. And I just remember saying that. He said, look at me, but that shit ain't gonna happen again. And I was like, all right. and then I said, well, I'm trying to. And I was like, yeah, my name. He's like, I know who you are. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, man, you beat my cousin from Sandusky in the Brecksville semifinals, my junior year.
Who's it?
Who's that? I forget. I gotta think of his name. I looked big through my I wound up losing in the finals, but but I beat his cousin in the semi, who wound up being like fifth in the state that year or something. And then and he's like, yeah, so you beat my cousin. And then I was like,
you were. He was trying to make the team at Iowa State. He's worried about winning national titles and upset about that. Yeah. And you're like, he knows me.
Yeah. So then he said, well then come on. He's like, you trying to get on tail? I was like, yeah, I've been calling coach now. And he's like, well, first you got to go run the stadium. Run the stadiums there. I said, well, I do. Every morning I go run the stadium because Ohio Stadium used to be open. Like you used to be able to just go in there. So every morning I would go there, like I would get on my bike and get over there, and I would start at 8 o'clock. And I remember I would always end between 8:08 and 8:10 running the lower bowl. And he said, how fast you do? I said, like 8-9 minutes. He's like, no, you don't. I was like, yeah. I was like, I start at 8 every morning, and by the time I'm done, it's like 8:08, 8:09, on the clock. And he's like only Dan Ritchie is the only one that can do, like, you're faster than Dan Ritchie. There was this, like, gazelle on the team. And then I was like, he's like, come with me. So he takes me over to St. John's Arena. He's like, come with me. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, all right, where are we going? I'm in my first day of school clothes. And he's like, we're about to go work out. I was like, what do you mean we're about to go work out? He's like, let's go. So he takes me to go work out. We go over to St. John's. And then, and once again, we're going in there. He knows everybody. And that's not even where they train, but just somehow he's just like, well, there's a place to work out. I can go there. Like, because that wasn't our workout facility, but he just said, let's go over to St. John. And we go over and he puts me on the oob. I don't know if you remember the Ooby thing. It's like the arm bike.
Okay. Yeah. That was on those videos too, right? Him cranking.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. The hardest workout. The hardest thing. And he puts me through this 10-minute workout, and I'm wearing like dress clothes. and it's like, and every time he's like, if you stop, we're starting over. And all the, like, he just put me through the whole, like, I'm trying to be national champ workout. This is what I do. Here's what you do. And then just remember at the end of it, I was exhausted. And he was just like, all right, I'm going to go talk to Russ. And he just left, and I just didn't see him. I'm sweating, and I didn't know how to get out of St. John's. It was so random. And then I think he dropped that class. So I didn't see him the next day. Like, it was so, I was just like, what is and now and that's not like now, like where you can just tweet him or Facebook or whatever. It's just like, I didn't have his number. I was just like, all right. Like, so then I just, I was just getting people in the dorm, anyone that ever wrestled or anything, like I just would sneak into the wrestling room and work out and just whatever, and just got on the team, man.
So you made the team, and I know you discussed this with Zed a couple months back, but in 1 year, I've never heard this, you went from 134 to 190, right?
Yes,
how's that? How does that work?
Once again, I had little man syndrome. I used to think like a lightweight all the time. Mm-hmm. It was like I got sick my sophomore year. Like I had this tonsil issue. So I had to I redshirted because my first year I went and I got on the team in January, and then our 26 pounder sucked. So I cut to 26 a couple times and made it. It was crazy. Like it was crazy.
That's what back when they cut, right? Before,
oh my God. Like I'm talking
right?
about, yes, I'm talking about plastics and sweat in the sauna, in a bike, like, and everyone's doing it. Like, you know, it was
you had to do it. You had to do it to get the right weight.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah. So I mean, that's what you look at. Those dudes were freaking huge. Like dudes like
it was 24-hour weigh-ins too, right? People forget that.
Yeah.
Right? So
the only time is if they didn't agree, it still was a 5-hour weigh-in. Like
so people would you get rehydrated.
The only time that happened was one time we wrestled Clarion, and the Clarion coach knew we cut a lot, so he tried to have a 5-hour. He was the only one that ever did it during our college life.
But still 5 hours, right? I mean, but I guess if you're used to 24, right?
If you're used to 24, tough. You're putting together. You know, you got your Bob Evans plan and your breakfast plan. Like to get the 15 back on, some dudes get 20 back on. Crazy, but So how the 34 happened was, I still was in that mode. I mean, I wanted to get in the lineup because Yetz moved up to 42. And then, and 34, there was no one was really at 34 because Dom DeSabato wasn't going to make that cut yet, or he didn't really want to do it, or like he was thinking about 20. But just whatever happened that was the opening. Gotcha. 34 was an opening.
So what'd you cut from?
65.
Okay.
60 and 65. And but I was 6'1", and I only had, it ain't like I was fat, Yeah, we had this guy Aaron Shetter on our team that just cut from like 80 to 42, but he used to show up really fat. Aaron Shetter might not want to hear that. But he used to show up like he had the weight on him, like
he could do it, right? No, I get what you're saying. No, we all know those guys that, right?
They show up a little chubby, and they're like, all right, I'll be down there, I'll get it off. And then I wrestled Dan Carcelli at the Cleveland State duel, and it just I still don't remember that 24-hour period of my life. It was crazy, like how much weight I cut, and not like it was. I remember part of the match. I have such a good memory about things. That is one day I just don't remember almost. Like it was crazy, like that weigh-in, and it was, and then I wrestled at 142 at the Ohio Open, and then I didn't wrestle 50 that year, but I did wrestle 50 the following year at a duel. And then we go on this road trip, and Mitch Clark was our 67-pounder, but he became ineligible. Like, so that was our last trip with him. And then so Russ was like kind of moving people around. He just wanted to get people matches, things like that. And then he got me a match at 158. So I wrestled 158 against Cal. Like Cal Fullerton. I always remember Cal Fullerton. And then when I came back, Mitch, after that, because that was a winter break trip or whatever.
Okay.
And then we get back around like right before Christmas, and then when we come back after the New Year, Mitch was ineligible, so 67 was open. So then I just wrestled 67. It was just I just would kind of weigh in at like 64, 67. Like I finally eventually weighed 167, whatever, but it was, I was lifting and eating and whatever. So I finally was done cutting weight like that.
Gotcha.
And then lost the wrestle off, and then
and we go up again, huh?
Yeah. So then I wrestled 90 twice. It was after I lost the wrestle off at 67, our 190 pound, everyone moved down. So like Nutter moved down to 77, Odita moved down to 67. And then 90 was open, and then Rick Berlinski was our heavyweight, and he was thinking about cutting the 90. So it always kind of stayed open. And then, but we had a duel where we were at Michigan State, and then, and it was like the number 3 guy in the country. And it was me and this guy named Bill Schindler, who was more of a 77, 90 pounder, but was terrified of this 90 pounder from Michigan State because they wrestled at Jersey. He knew him from New Jersey. He was like a 2-time state champ. I forget his name, but and then I remember Bill just like disappeared when Russ was like, one of you two guys, if neither of you guys get pinned, we'll win this duel. And then I said, I'll do it, but I wound up like taking a shot and trying to score and do stuff. And it was the craziest match. And, guy wound up pinning me. But then I always remember Eric Smith came up to me afterwards and said, "Will, why'd you try to shoot on him? You should have tried." I'm like, dude, you were kidding me, man. Are you kidding me? Like, the inevitable was happening, bro. So, yeah. And then the same thing happened in Big Ten. The opportunity opened up, and I wrestled a Big Ten at 190 and wound up taking 8th place. Won a match.
From walk on to all the way up to 55 pounds later, and not counting the guys cutting down to 98. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I weighed 167.1 at the Big Ten. I had to weigh 167.1, and then the next day I had to weigh 168.1. But I after I weighed in the first day, that I'm drinking water in that Iowa room. It's hot as balls,
Right.
And then just drinking a gallon of water, sweating it out. Drinking a gallon, checking my weight, drinking just. But then the next day, I'm coming down with the 90 pounders after day one. So I never left this late at it because I'm with the 90s and heavyweights for the last guy. And Tom Brands and Gabe were running the wins, and they're like, Knight 190, Ohio State, And I remember telling Russ, I said, Russ, I'm not gonna make weight. Like, I'm not gonna make 60.8. I mean, so you got to come down with me, man. I don't know. I said, I'm not going to make weight. And then he's like, and he comes down with me. And then when I get on the scale, I weighed 160. I just remember walking off. I remember getting off. Gable, Tom Brands, and Russ had a conversation, and I'm still in the tournament the next day.
Nice.
So it's like, whatever.
Russ getting into it, right?
I don't know. I don't, so I don't think anyone's going to get in trouble for that. I don't think.
Right. So you talk about Russ. You have any stories or, as a coach now, anything you took away from that experience with him?
What I do is what I see technically, there's things that he did so basic that are technically that I hold on to. I take a piece of everything that I learned from everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I would always encourage other coaches to do. Always just, stay, learn from everybody. And be humble enough to be able to do that. So what I used to, there's, techniques that the way he would train Randleman different than Rex Holman. Okay. He knew they're two different athletes.
Right.
They're two different type of athletes. I'm not going to fit them both into this situation, into what I need them to do. And he was good at kind of seeing, okay, this is kind of something that you can do, that you can work on to be better. And that's what I take pride in, is seeing a kid or seeing someone and being like, hey, try this. Because I call myself a wrestling historian. So I think it's important for people to really appreciate that, because if you can look at history and how people wrestle, you'll come upon another situation that fits something new, right, that you're trying to figure out.
Thousands of years, right? So it's
So I see, I haven't coached a Randleman yet, but I'm hoping to one day. But there's things. But you see things like that, that you can take from everybody. So how I got hip to Burnett,
right.
We were always kind of, friends on the outskirts, but he comes up to me at districts one day and said, because I had coached Logan Steber, I kind of showed him Greco in 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
And then he wins the national championship. No, it was less than that. It was like that training week. And then I worked with him each day, Hanfog, and then just kind of train him. Me and Harry Lesser had him going, and then all of a sudden, he goes on this run and wins national, in Greco. And it's crazy. And then that following year, I go out that spring, he goes out to Vegas and wins. Oh, I'm sorry, the spring before that, he won that now it's UWW, whatever, the Junior World. It was a Junior World thing. He won that, and he beat that Minnesota freshman. He beat a bunch of studs to win that. And then, funny note, David Taylor was weighing the same amount, but only went to the Western Regional.
Wow.
I
Really?
always wonder why. but I'm just Logan wrestled 21, Taylor wrestled 19 at their Western Regional, and I don't know. That would have been fun if they wrestled both in that tourney. But anyway, so and then Burnett comes up to me the following year at districts and says, "Will, Logan's gonna go to the U.S. Open and wants you to help." And I was like, "What?" Like, this is just so random. He's like, "I put together a schedule and, he put together a calendar." You've been around Burnett. He comes up with some paper and he's like, "Hey, man, here's like a calendar of workouts and, going out to the original barn in LaGrange and then going out to it was the beginning of Milan."
Right.
And it just would be, and it was crazy what I would, how, like, learn from him what he did with athletes, but also I think he appreciated what I brought, a different perspective on things. And I learned a lot working with him and working with the Stevers and learning those Monroeville kids and what Bernie was doing with a lot of that early BTW stuff.
Yeah. And
kind of being open and just opening your room up and just being like, and not, it didn't seem, Bernie doesn't have an ego like that.
No, not at all. Neither of them, right?
Yeah, and it's crazy. So it's like, it was someone with that much success showing respect to me, and then also like the Stevers, they didn't need me. Like I don't know what influence I have. But
they trusted Eric, right? They trusted Eric.
Yeah, they trusted Eric, and he said,
obviously trusted you.
Because I wrestled it, because I wrestled the U.S. Open. I've been through that journey, going, and being around the whole process, and so it was good. It was, but I learned from everybody, and like when I got to know Lou Rosselli after that, because they were recruiting, when they started recruiting him, right. When they started recruiting Logan, then I was able to pick Lou Rosselli's brain. And then he gave me a piece of information that was great that I love when he was telling me that, when me and Burnett, we had Logan in the US Open finals after, like when he won that match, and then he had Escobedo on the ropes at the US Open finals, man. I think I jinxed us because I looked at Bernie at some point. I said, "Bernie, is this kid gonna be a freaking U.S. Open champ?" Like, I just remember being like,
that was
me and Bernie were both looking at, we were both looking at each other like this is crazy, bro. Like we were just like, this is crazy. But then Logan, then he loses to Escobedo. And then I just remember seeing, and I could tell this was the last time either of us were really gonna coach him, because he was on the way to college and he starts his career. And then Lou comes up and says, "Will, there's you guys took him as far as you could take him." Like it was, it got to the point with me, I'm wrestling him, Scotty's wrestling him, because he was dismantling, he was just beating every kid that came in the room. There's not a high school kid that we could throw at him. Like the only time was like, only like Solzer would have to show up because he weighs 160. You know what I mean? Like we couldn't get him a real look. And then, the brother's tired of wrestling. There's, like every kid we brought in there, we got to the point where no one wanted to come work out. Like those high school kids, because Logan's as nice and whatever he looks like, you think he's a freaking hammer in practice, like hammer.
Oh yeah.
So it's like he ain't playing. So dudes don't want to go through that. Like he did, like so. And so it'd be me and Scotty and Eric wrestling him in practice. So I mean, we took him as far as we could take him.
Right.
And then Lou also brought up the thing about.
And those rooms were no joke either. Those rooms out there.
Unbelievable.
No joke.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Ian Miller in there. Like it just be crazy, the people in there. And then
Jamie Clark, right?
Yes. Oh my God. Look. Oh, this is when I knew Logan was a freaking killer. Like when we're getting him ready, I'm showing him Greco, like I'm kind of him but he only wrestled Jamie Clark. It was weird. Like they were always drilling, always working, and he would be whooping Jamie Clark so badly, and Jamie be on tears, crying on the end, and Logan just be boom, just whatever,
And Jamie was
normal person,
tough as nails.
And Jamie was a freaking hammer, but I didn't know how good Jamie was when I was watching these workouts. I'm like, who's this Jamie? Like, okay, I hear about this head kid, Jamie Clark, but Logan's giving it to this dude all day, every day. And then he wrestled. Then I had Logan up against this one kid from Columbus who was he wanted to wrestle at Ohio State. I'll think of his name a little bit. And then we did one of those singlet matches, and then Logan beat him in this match. And I said, oh, this kid might be ready. And then we go on a run that year. Jamie Clark went on a run in Greco all the way to like the round of placing, but then this dude did a legal move and popped his shoulder out. He would have wrestled Ryan Mango the next round.
Wow.
But he would have been an All-American. Logan went on and won it. Orlando Scales was in the final. Hiles was the champ. And then dude from St. Ed's, the guy with the one eye, but he was he was an All-American. Like we had like this run, and if Clark didn't get hurt, we would have won the national championship.
Wow.
Because Illinois, because Jamie was going to be even if he could have finished that match, he would have been an All-American.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So and if he didn't get hurt, he would have been top 3. The way he was going, man, he was St. Ed's in people. He wasn't doing Greco, but he was St. Ed's. He would be losing the first period every time, second period battle, and then the third period had dudes exhausted from that. Just cranking their head. It was crazy. He'd just get 10-0'd in the first period. Like, all right, then. The second would be kind of close, and then the third period dudes would be exhausted. And Jamie would just work you too.
That's awesome.
Take it to, and this one dude, the same thing happened in the third. The dude freaked out, and Jamie had an underhook, and he did the crank in and popped his shoulder out. Man, I've never been so mad at a kid in my life. Like watching that kid do that, I was so disappointed. But anyway, yeah. But
so how'd you get started in Greco then? What's your background? How'd you get in that?
I taught myself Greco.
Wow, this is before YouTube, right?
Yeah. Like I remember my high school coach handed me a pamphlet after my senior year. He's like, I know you want to still do some wrestling. Try and make the junior national team. And it was a one-day tryout in Toledo back in the day. And I remember my dad got me and my buddy Pooh up. Everyone has a friend named Pooh, but my buddy Pooh wrestles. Me and him were just training, and my buddy and Pete Nathanson was a state champ. He got eliminated as junior, but state champ and senior. He was a year younger than me. He knew a little bit about Greco because he wrestled for Longwood. And he grew up wrestling with Alan Free, like all those studs and like that old great youth program. And then he showed me a couple things. I just knew you had to just try and throw people, underhook, throw people. I knew a good arm spin from learning freestyle. And so I had a great suplex. Like I would always try, even in freestyle, I worked on a dummy. Like I always just do it through. And then I just remember the first tournament I went to, like there was this kid who made the team before. He had his Ohio singlet on, had the bad Greco stance, and I just remember just grabbing him and suplexing him. And just from that point, like, you were hooked, right? You were hooked. I was hooked, and I was just winning matches. And there was this guy, I think he's from your area. His name is Joshua Deere, the state champ. Where is he from? He was like an 89-pound state champ in '91. So but this dude was killing people too. So it just seemed like his match before mine was up here. So it just seemed like, and me and him were just throwing people, right? So I just remember kids like kind of following us, like, all right, when are y'all two wrestling? It just got to a point where like, when are y'all wrestling? And then my dad knew nothing about it. We just got up early and drove us, and he just sat in the stands and walked around a couple matches. And then I just started kind of learning. Brian Church was our coach. I learned a little bit at camp. Sean Contos, I would drill with him. He was on that national team, and Nick Nutter. I was drilling with Nick Nutter, who knew it. So then I just would learn. I learned within there. Went 1 and 2 at nationals, and then the next year when I got on Ohio State's team, we had an assistant coach named Mark Black who wrestled Greco. So I just would kind of do some he showed me a couple things, but it was just a year with him, and then it was just kind of on my own, me and Nick Nutter doing it on our own, like whatever.
Cool. cool.
Kind of crazy, yeah.
Something I've been asking people: if you could change one rule to wrestling, what would it be? It can be folk style, freestyle, Greco. What, if you could change one rule, what would it be?
Let's take away the stalling call and make it a push out.
Make it a push out. All right.
Yeah.
So if you
let's take the arbitrary ref call that affects too many kids late in matches or whatever,
Right. No, I agree with the refs. We're changing rules. We're trying to make the sport better, but it's making too many gray areas for refs to impact matches.
Yeah,
I think.
It's already hard enough for them, and
it's not an easy job.
We keep adding rules as opposed to and making it harder for them. We need to make it less rules, kind of like freestyle is just interpretation of your 2, is it a 2-4 or 2-4 or defensive throw through. I mean, other than that, the calls are the calls.
Right. Well, you have 3 officials, right? So it's a little,
Yeah, and then you can say, this guy first, you're on the clock, but at the end of the day, that evens up. Like that's just the protocol. But it would be the. Oh, and also, I'm sorry, we got to take away the full Nelson call. Like, just make it potentially dangerous. Like, no one knows how to use full Nelson, right? Like, it's not like giving up a point.
No one's trying to do it on purpose, right? It's usually
when a dude is hat and they switch off and some kid on JV hits it.
Right, it's a beginner kid, so then they're losing. As a coach, just cut them, right? So they're never learning.
Call it potentially dangerous. Call it potentially dangerous to keep it moving, man.
Yeah, I never heard that one. That makes sense because no one's using it for a
no one knows
a legal move.
No one knows.
Right?
Yeah, it's legal in Greco. No one knows how to use it in Greco. Like, you can't do anything with it other than, you
hurt some guy's shoulder, right?
Yeah, I mean the power half, the power half is way more. that's way more brutal.
Yeah.
A guy has a leg in. It's probably like a Palmer power half, bro.
Oh man,
chalk that up.
Yeah, no. Who's made the biggest impact on your coaching? If you had to name one person.
Wow. It once again, like I take it ebbs and flows, but like I'm gonna tell you, Hank Kornbluth did a lot for me. He owns Mr. Brisket, and I don't know, he's active on social media.
Right.
And he the first time, like my head coach Semak, like Dave Semak, he was a great coach, but he was limited. He had a style. He had things like, okay, this is what we're doing, this is what we're doing, this is what we're doing. And the first time I kind of looked outside the box was when Kornbluth he grabbed me and said, Will, you need to try this, and I just didn't think about it. And then these things, he would just kind of grab me and say, you need to try this. And it worked for me because I was tall, skinny, like he would show me that stuff as opposed to, there was things that I would learn that weren't working for him, but he showed me some leverage moves, like he showed me leverage moves that I should try. And I started thinking way different. So and from that point, I will always think different when I look at people strategizing. And then when I came back, he was the head coach at the time. So then I coached with him, and then we, I learned just managing a team and trying to prepare kids, and it was, just knowing he always would say, like, whatever the best people are doing, just go do that. Even if you don't know anything as a coach, right? If you don't know anything as a coach, find out what the best people are doing and copy that.
Right. Yeah. No, it's funny,
start from there.
When Logan was wrestling, a lot of people were trying to, mimic that, and not, it's funny now.
Yeah,
it's kind of funny how that works sometimes. Whatever the top level guys are doing, it kind of gets hot. At the lower levels, it's kind of funny how that works sometimes.
But when I started the last couple of years, when I had success, I mimicked what I participated. Bernie was doing the best stuff 10 years ago. Like he was doing crazy stuff 10 years ago. And I said, okay, I'm gonna start bringing my kids over here, start doing some things. And then that's where Farouk and Muhammad and Najee Lockett and and Jackie Frazier, they started to emerge. Like, wow, these kids are special. And so I mimicked what he did, and you see it. It's crazy. Like one time I take Najee over there when he was state runner-up as like, you know, 8-year-old. And then Bernie calls me. He's like, "Well, this is 10 years ago, man." He's like, "Well, I got these killers coming, man. I know Najee weighs like 75 pounds. I got all these kids. They're 75 pounds. I got, you know, kids from West Virginia. He's like West Virginia state champ. There was Ohio state champ." And he said, "And Spencer Lee's coming."
Oh, I remember seeing Spencer Lee up there. Everyone's like, "Gotta watch this kid."
Right.
Like, and he was just like Logan, right? Kind of like Logan back
right.
then.
And I was like, and he would just be telling me like, "Spencer Lee, Spencer." I said, "Who's this Spencer Lee?" He's like, "Well, Will, it's Logan when he was a kid." I was like, "Okay." I didn't have perspective when people were telling me about Spencer Lee. So he showed up, and Spencer was 12 at this time, and Najee was 8. So, and Spencer Lee showed up. They drove from PA. It was a Sunday morning 10, so they drove from PA. This kid, I mean, it was crazy, and it was only like 5 kids. So Najee couldn't hide. It was all these 12-year-old killers, and then he was an 8-year-old. He was just getting mopped, dude. Just getting mopped in this practice. It was brutal. And then I'm also trying to keep an eye on, you know, we're also doing a Logan workout. We had, you know, had about 10 older kids, and it was just only like 5. So it was only 15 of us, and it was just everyone was a killer in this room except Najee. So it was like, so. And then and I remember Spencer Lee had a broken wrist or something. He still was at this workout, and it was like, and at the end, Najee didn't. So let me. So Spencer. Yeah, so he's just everyone's just killing that. And then at the very end, I just remember, you know, that Bernie does this shot drill where the partner's holding the shoulders and his kid's shooting through it, and you're doing it in miling that whole mat, right? You're not just doing like a little, So you had to shoot, and then at that point, you saw Najee was so just broken at this point, and he was even messing that drill up. And then I just saw Spencer Lee finally like took a deep breath and grabbed him and said, "Hey, look," said something to him, showed him how to do it right, and then Najee, and I was just like, okay. I said, because I've seen kids who were studs that are kind of dicks.
Oh yeah.
You know, but whatever.
That's probably what Najee needed right there, right? Just to hear, wow.
Yeah,
you know, this
and
guy,
it's like, he got hammered the whole time, but then at that
because everyone knew
like,
he was the man in that room, right? So if he's picking him,
and then
saying,
he was the one that kind of said,
"Yeah,
come here. This is what showed him how to do the drill." And then Najee finished that practice, and then I just remember on the ride home, Najee's looking out the window like a kid who just like lost his puppy.
It was like,
want
to be getting home, get in bed, and be done.
Oh my God. You know, and then Bernie calls me, man, like 20 minutes into our ride. This is an hour, you know, no matter what, it always takes an hour and 5, hour and 10 minutes. I've never gotten there in less. It's always an hour and 10 minutes. So we're 20 minutes into this ride home. And then Bernie calls like, "Man, my fault, Will, man. I didn't know it was gonna go that bad." And it was like, "Hey, it's all good." And I was like, and then I relayed the message to Najee. I said, "Hey, Najee, Coach Bernie says, man, you know, those killers, don't worry about it. And then all Najee said was like, "Well, Coach, all I'm gonna do is I just want to get home. Just gonna work hard to get better."
Wow.
And I was like, wow, okay.
You can't teach that.
I can work. I was like, I can work with this kid. I said,
right. You can't. Either you have that or you don't, right?
You know, and coincidentally, last fall, we're going into his junior year when he transferred back to Shaker. You know, we're at Milan at a preseason workout, and he's looking good there. And then when we're driving home, I get a call from what's his face's Breeding's dad. Breeding. Fred. I get a call from Fred. He's like, Will, man. Yeah, he's like, Will, man. I got this Princeton coach, man. How's his grades, man? I'm gonna have him call. So it was like coincidentally getting a phone call, like, "Hey, now, that was his last time he worked out at Milan. The first time he worked out at Milan, we get a phone call, and the last time he worked out at Milan, like, the other one's about Princeton calling. You know what I mean? So it's crazy, like, you see what I'm saying? It's like that's almost 10 years separated.
Yeah, Freddie's a good dude, man. Freddie,
Yeah.
That's funny. That's crazy. No, that's cool. That's cool that the Spencer Lee part of it, you know, because a 12-year-old kid doesn't have to do that for an 8-year-old kid. You know what I mean? That just
no.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was good.
So
I saw who Spencer Lee was. Yeah.
What favorite wrestling social media follow? Who's someone you like to follow?
I like following Zeb,
Yeah.
but that's a little too, I'm not gonna make it that easy for him. I used to like following Ben Askren, but he gets a little goofy sometimes, so I had to take a break from Ben Askren. But just the basic ones, like I used to like following Jay Jaggers, but he doesn't put much stuff on there anymore. Like he used to put cool stuff on.
He was
on
doing
there.
stuff in the spring a little bit, some Friday night stuff. I remember that. But,
yeah, so it's but I've been following like Kenny Monday is one of my idols, so I like,
mm-hmm.
I just kind of like staying up with like Kenny Monday and Kevin Jackson and just basic USA wrestling stuff. But the Kenny Monday stuff, I like.
Cool. No, that's awesome. Anything else you want to share? I know we've been talking for a minute here. No,
it's all
good stories, man. Anything else you want to share?
I mean, I love the sport. I love what it can bring to. I know we're in a time of a little bit of tension, and what I do love about this sport is that bringing. I just want to recommend this to people who maybe not who don't embrace diversity in the sport.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, it's going to be better. The sport is better. Your kids are going to be better. People are going to be better with the diversity in the sport. Our state is going to be better.
100%.
I think if we embrace the diversity a little bit more, we wouldn't be falling behind Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
We wouldn't be falling behind like Illinois and New Jersey and Georgia's making so I just think I wish we could embrace that a little bit more but that's what I'm going to be here for.
Right.
I'm going to keep fighting at least for that.
Well, it's definitely I think the sport that we can embrace it. It's one of those sports you walk through each other's shoes. I know me personally, coming from a small school in Sandusky, I had the kids from Sandusky, Rocky McKinney, Chauncey Prophet.
Yes, and those are I'm telling you.
They were my training partners in that, and so that opened my eyes to the world a little bit. Yeah, no, there's some.
You have to look on my face. I gotta show you my all African American team. Black History Month a couple years ago, I did an all African American team.
Yeah, send that over, man. I'd love to see that.
All Ohio African American team. It was great. The debate was fun, but at the end of the day, when people always said, "Well, what about this guy?" I said, "Well, who are you taking off the list?" That's all I would ask people.
Easier said than done,
who are you taking off? The only and I had a surprise. I had a heavyweight that a lot of people just didn't quite know how great he was, but it was more personal to me. This guy named Lamar Washington. Lamar Washington, who was a state runner-up at Shaw, but got literally cheated in the final. And he was a heavyweight that took shots and it was crazy. And he got called for stalling by backing up to take a shot at heavyweight. It was crazy. Twice. It was crazy. But anyway, he lost. But anyway, yeah.
No, yeah, send it over. That'd be great, man. I'm definitely glad you took the time. I appreciate it. I want to thank you. And
yeah, anytime, brother.
Definitely. If you have anybody out there you want to jump on here, you let me know. I'd like to, keep this going. So
yeah, that'd be great, man. Yeah, I like it. It was cool.